great to see so many people here. That's a surprise. Thanks. So we're here to share our journey on platform engineering. And despite many other journeys, we actually just started around 2 months ago. So hence the title, Startup Mentality. However, we do believe that we already gained some quite valuable insights. We had some good discussions. We had some small failures, some small wins, some general good, valuable insights that we'd like to share with you. And that might be interesting, especially if you're venturing into building a platform or venturing into platform engineering in general. So the aim is to inspire a bit, and hopefully you'll find us afterwards, because we'd love to learn more. We'd love to discuss the topic and hear how you've done. So first, a little bit about us. So I'm Martin. I'm a staff engineer in a platform team at TV2 Denmark. Before that, I was part of one of our backend teams, where I've mainly been building the cloud platform on which TV2 Play is hosted on today. My interests lies, I come from a developer background, but my interest lies mainly within platform engineering, developer experience, and cloud-native technologies in general. Besides that, I'm somewhat of a foodie. I love cooking, dining, also a bit of a wine and coffee geek. So,
thank you, Martin. Yes, my name is Dan. I am from Eficode. I've been working as a consultant for the past 4 years. I have a background as an embedded engineer, actually. But right now I'm working with Martin and his team on trying to establish this platform, right? So that's actually a thing that's really near to my heart. Also, developer experience. How do we actually do this and have the opportunity to do this from the start? So, yes.
But first, a bit of history. Most of you probably already know TV2. Those of you who doesn't, it's a commercial broadcasting company, a public service TV station in Denmark. A TV station. Besides that, we provide the Danes with news through TV2 DK. We also have a lot of different free applications, like mobile apps for weather, sports, news, and so on. And then we have our streaming service, TV2 Play, which one of the things that kind of differentiates TV2 Play from other of the big streaming services is that we do a combination of live streaming, dynamic pop-up channels, and on-demand content. And as the general the general decrease in usage of Flow TV, TV2 Play has, streaming in general gained a lot of attraction and a lot of popularity, which is also something that's reflected in the amount of subscribers we have. So that's somehow depicted here. Back in 2004, the streaming service was launched. It was called TV2 Sputnik back then. To give a bit of context, I think Netflix were doing like physical DVD rentals with postage around 2007-8-ish. Around 2012, the service was rebranded to TV2 Play. And from here on, as you see, we gained quite an increase in subscribers. So for the past 5 years, we gained roughly 100,000 subscribers a year netto. We're more than 900,000 today, and aiming for 1.3 million by 2025. So, looking at across the internal department doing TV2 Play and the free products as TV2 DK and the apps, we're more than 70 employees. We spread across 14 different teams doing backend, frontend, UXD, and so on. Everything is developed in-house, so we do everything from like the platform, APIs, recommendation engine, subscription service, to the different clients for all different devices. And today we're running more than 150 different microservices across a lot of different platforms, which we'll talk a bit about later. So, looking a bit at the history of the tech. So, it all started out as a PHP monolith running on bare metal in the basement in Odense. Developers were exposed to like the IDE, some kind of version control, and then we had some kind of homemade deploy script. So basically you would just SSH into a server, write deploy, and magic happened. So the responsibility of the developers would basically just do the code, and that's it. Fast forward to 2015, we started rewriting some of these services to microservices. With that came Docker. We put them in containers. We started hosting them in an on-premise Rancher and virtual machines, and we started to see this increase in cognitive load of the developers. So the responsibility kind of extended to being code and ship, because suddenly we had Docker images that needed to be built in a Jenkins pipeline. You had app configuration for deploying to Rancher and so on. Fast forward to 2018, we started migrating to AWS, to a Kubernetes-based platform. The developer responsibility extended to you build it, you run it. And suddenly developers had to relate to Kubernetes, IDEs, Git, Docker, Atlantis, Terraform. We adopted a GitOps workflows, or Argo as well. And I mean, the complexity that developers were exposed to on a daily basis just exploded. So what we aim to do is try to remove some of this complexity and try to simplify things, because developers shouldn't care about infrastructure. They should care about implementing business logic, building their apps, and the infrastructure should just be there. So we want to simplify things. So turns out that with the whole you build it, you run it, came a lot of Snowflake platforms, because suddenly all the development teams were building their own platforms. And that came with no standardization, meaning that the platforms became less secure. And it turns out that the whole infrastructure as code, it's really a smart thing, but it doesn't scale that well. I mean, if you suddenly manage 20, 30, 50 different platforms with the same, with a replication of the same infrastructure as code, it just doesn't scale. So looking at the amount of platforms we actually have, we see that most teams have 2 or more platforms that they have to relate to. These platforms come with different responsibilities, different workflows, and note that this should be multiplied with 3, because each team also have like a dev stage and production environment for each type of platform. And actually, one of our operations specialists put it quite well. He said that we're constantly relearning the same things, producing the same errors. We should be focusing on being good at delivering business value instead. And I mean, he's absolutely right. So we tried to ask the different development teams and tried to ask, what's your pains? What's the hard thing for you on a daily basis? And here's what we found out. Developers just love cloud, Kubernetes, and Terraform. Well, no, not really. They're complaining that, I mean, we're lacking best practices for AWS, for doing Terraform, for managing a Kubernetes platform. And I mean, in general, the whole toil of managing huge monolithic Terraform bases is a pain for them. So I actually seen one example where a developer spent roughly 3 hours implementing the business logic, doing the actual code, and afterwards struggling with infrastructure for 3 days. And I mean, that we don't want that. So in other words, we want to try to reduce this complexity, want to abstract this away. And it looks like we're not the only ones thinking that. As some of you may know, we made a small platform engineering survey that we shared with our network, and Eficode sent it out as well. Turns out it's really hard convincing people spending their time answering surveys. So we didn't get quite as many answers that we'd like, but those we got were really good. One of the questions we asked was, what's the most important thing for an internal developer platform to actually provide? And a lot of the answers mentioned abstractions. Abstractions that hide unnecessary configuration, abstractions that hide all the complexities that developers do not care about. So another question we asked were, if you were to build a new platform, what would you do differently? One of the answers we got was like, get a good feedback setup in place to continuously collect developer satisfaction and ideas, because the purpose is to help the platform team know what is important enough to work on. And yeah, that's something Dan will tell you a little bit about.
Yep. Thank you, Martin. Yeah, so with get a good feedback set up in place, I want to share with you how we actually approach the teams inside TV2 and how, the teams that we consider being kind of the customers. We know from books and blog posts and so on that we should treat the platform as a product. And that's actually something new to us. We are engineers. We are not product owners or don't have a product background as such, you could say. So that was some of the biggest differences that we saw in kind of in the transition of having been an implicit infrastructure team into becoming an explicit platform team. And an important part of this work, this product work we call discovery right now. We are heavily inspired by a book by Teresa Torres called Continuous Discovery Habits. That's what we picked out from the shelf right now for that. So some of the goals or high-level missions that we have towards developers is that we want to support them build, ship, and run the software using our platform in a way that reduces or hides complexity. Being able to, by trying to reduce this complexity, we aim to build an efficient platform that enables developers to become more productive and hopefully also happier. It is actually as simple as that, like that's the goal, that should be the core of everything that we do. So with the build, ship, run in mind, we have taken a method from Teresa's book called an opportunity solution tree. That's actually a way of linking outcome into some kind of solutions. So in the build category, we have this, that we want to increase developer productivity. And an opportunity that we have assumed right now is that we can address this by reducing cognitive load. An opportunity means that it's a pain or a desire or a need from our customers, which is the developers that we should support with this. We believe that we could address that with another opportunity to say, hey, if we standardize software components or provide golden paths, this might be a way to do this. And a solution to this might be to have a developer portal through Backstage, which is a really popular tool right now in the platform engineering area and the DevX thing. And then we have some assumptions, because we believe that by providing a UI where I as a developer can go in, say I want a backend service that I can provide the details, the repository, the owner of it, so on, click a button, have my repository created, the CI pipeline, the CD stuff also there, in a way such that eventually my Hello World backend service might be up and running in a dev environment. And another assumption is that right now we're actually struggling a bit with a clear ownership. So we believe that we can decrease mean time to recovery when we need to figure out what service, this service is impaired, who actually owns it, who should we contact here. And another opportunity that also addresses reducing cognitive load might be we want to abstract away cloud infrastructure, as Martin said. And again, a way to do this would be to provide self-service provisioning of said cloud infrastructure. So right now we are looking a lot into a tool called Crossplane, because we believe that if we can treat the AWS resources that's TV2's cloud provider the same way as we treat Kubernetes resources, then we can have all the benefits of the reconciliation loops that we have in Kubernetes. We can treat it with a GitOps approach like we do with all the other stuff that we deploy to Kubernetes. And we can build on higher abstraction layers such that we probably can get to a language, so to say, that is more aligned with what developers care about. So abstracting away unnecessary details reduces cognitive load, and hopefully also this lead time. Gone are the days where developers need to care about dealing with Terraform, right? That was the build. In the ship, offer a fast, safe, and clear deployment process. Again, we have some opportunities here. Not necessarily every opportunity needs to be addressed with a solution. Right now we have to offer standardized deployment flow through Argo CD, that's our GitOps engine. So we believe that if we can kind of stamp out best practices related to the repository structure, maybe even have something like when I do a pull request that I can have an environment created for me in a way that that addresses this as well. So if I can, for example, have these ephemeral environments that allows me for fast validation, when I close the pull request, they're gone again. Something like that. In the last category, making it easier to run software. We want to improve observability. This is actually a thing that not necessarily was something that we figured out. That was with addressing or having a workshop with some of our stakeholders, that what they come up with. So improving observability might mean to improve telemetry, improve alerting, improve cost monitoring, these kind of things.
Hi, we are Eficode and we are behind the DEVOPS conference. DevOps is not a role. It's a way to increase organizations' ability to deliver applications and services faster with better quality. If Agile and DevOps are not yet part of your whole organization, reach out to us and let's discuss how to make them real for you. You can find us at eficode.com. The links are in the description. Have a great time with the DevOps Conference talks.
So for us, this tool, this opportunity to solution tree is a real great way for us, both us and our stakeholders, to kind of focus on the outcome first, start with the whys, right? And to actually link that down to something like potential solutions, potential opportunities. It's a real great way for us to kind of share our mental model, share our learnings, have that validated with the developers and our stakeholders, and have them chip in. So this is what is about the discovery phase that we are looking into.
Yeah. So how did we actually approach this? So it turns out that I mean, we already had buy-in from management, and we also had buy-in from most of our stakeholders, and the developers were excited that we were establishing this platform team. So that was great. So now it basically just needed to establish the team, and to do so, we need to hire people. So we started out hiring 2 engineers, 1 manager, and then we had me as a staff engineer. And actually we ended up hiring mostly internally, which gave us somewhat of a head start because we didn't have to spend a lot of time onboarding new people to the organization. But that's one thing. Another thing is we still need to get to know each other. We need to learn to work together, and that's just something that takes time. It's an ongoing process. And then there's the whole ways of working. I mean, most of the organization are running Scrum, but does it make sense to go full Scrum in a newly established platform team? Well, we didn't think so, especially because, I mean, we didn't have a dedicated product owner or Scrum Master, so it would come with a lot of overhead. So to begin with, we just created a Kanban board to have somewhere to put our issues and have some traction of what we're actually doing. And then processes and rituals is something that would emerge along the way. Right now we're doing like a weekly discovery/refinement session, and then we do a bi-weekly retrospective to continuously refine on the work we do and look at, well, should we adapt something? So that's one thing. So then we needed to find our purpose and goal. From management side, it was announced that this team was established to strengthen the future cloud foundation through a well-defined common cloud infrastructure. The team, the platform should be known by being secure, cost-effective, resilient, and monitored. And I mean, that sounds like something every company would like, and it sounds great. But as Dan mentioned, we also wanted to support developers build, ship, and run their software. So we kind of needed to figure out where to start, because we could start by improving some of the existing platforms that were built by the development teams. We could also start building a new platform. We had teams running on, still running on-prem. We could help build a new platform for them, move them, and I mean, we have had still have a lot of different maturity levels in the organization. So we have someone that's been working with cloud for years and someone who's just started looking at it. So that's one thing. And another thing is we also needed to figure out how, what kind of interface should we expose to the users. And certainly shouldn't just be some kind of alias for kube control, because it doesn't bring any value by just acting as a proxy. And actually, in the beginning, I think the first month or so, we were hit by analysis paralysis, because it was a completely blank sheet. And there were so many different needs across the organization. So we kept circling around the same topics and talking around, should we do this, or should we go that way? And that's really, that's really hard. So in the end, we decided that, well, we just need to do something. And acknowledge that we will fail. And when we make mistakes, just learn from them and do it over or adapt. That's one thing. So we needed to think big, start small. So we tried to identify some quick wins. And actually, we started kind of improving some of the existing platforms, because we're building small components around those platforms. One of the things we did was we made a simple Helm chart for aligning the way we deploy to Kubernetes. That alone abstracts away some unnecessary configuration for developers. And that's something that can be adapted by existing platforms, but also something we can use on the new platform we're building. And then we did some other components as well. Some are visible to the users, some are not. And that means that some are more like system components, meaning that we would be our own customer, which means that we will keep the feedback loop short. And one of the comments we got on the survey we sent out describes this quite well. So start out small and build out, because the platform cannot build in one go, but it's a puzzle of many things that needs to work together. And that's exactly the point of building all these small components. It's like a puzzle. And yeah, I guess Dan will tell you a bit about some of the learnings we did along that way.
Yep. Learnings. We, as Martin says, we have been on this for 2 months. And I think that already now we have had a lot of initial learnings. Hopefully some of you who are venturing to some of the same might have some of the same experiences. Thin viable platform, or thinnest viable platform, that's actually a word from the great book Team Topologies, where we are talking about this word, and it's really closely related to, a lot of you have probably heard about minimal viable product, but actually thinnest viable platform means something to us. I think there's like a conflict about how we tend to draw platforms like horizontal, and now we want to kind of make that thin. How do we actually do this? Because we need to have the architecture in place, right? We need to have the security, the networking, all these kind of things, the permissions, the roles, our tenancy model as well, while still have it thin. And I think internally in the team, we have maybe a little biased. Someone is mostly targeting the viable thing, the viable word here, and others are more into, is it thin enough? Such that we continuously kind of challenge each other here. We don't want to make it too thin, so it's not viable also. And also platform means the thing, because as Martin mentioned, we do a lot of these components, and probably the components shouldn't be sold separately. Because what is the platform then? And we actually violating that a little bit right now, because we have environments that resembles a lot what the platform is. So we test this in these environments to get the feedback. But eventually, I think we will end. There's a trap that we don't want to become kind of a library provider. We want to have a platform of these components here. Otherwise, I fear that there is a trap again. Going back to team topologies, there's a team type there that is the complicated subsystem team that is actually this, and their interaction modes and their expected behaviors is something different from the platform team. So I think there's a lot of things to consider here, not ending up in the wrong category if that's not what you want to. Then internally, I've been around in a lot of companies, especially in Denmark, and I feel that it's really that you see so much autonomy in a company like in TV2. So we kind of really want to protect that autonomy. But how is that possible when we also want some kind of consistency? I mean, we're building a platform, and the economies of scale is that we need to have some kind of consistency. So there's a balance here. I think that a lot of the consistency lies below in the stack that, again, developers not necessarily need to know about or care about. The tendency model, what kind of service mesh we're using, architecture, and so on. But we are very aware that this is a tricky one to deal with. Also, abstraction versus ownership. If we abstract away the wrong kind of complexity, the essential complexity, then things tend to become magical, and then it's actually more complex. So also to be aware of this is a thing for us. So who's first or what's first? This is a completely made-up figure. This is services, and we believe that there is a relationship or a correlation between the risk or effort of migrating a service to the platform versus the business value. And it might look like that the services that, of course, are already in cloud, are using some of the same platforms as we do, might be the less riskiest to migrate first. I'm not talking about people here, because that's a complete different thing. We haven't actually talked about that yet. But we believe that migrating some of the lowest risk, also lowest business value services is the ones that we would choose first, because we value the learning from it more, and hopefully that will also kind of globally reduce the risk of all the other services. So this is where we are right now. We have a kind of a platform. We have the foundation in place. We have the architecture almost in place. We are in the midst of having to set power onto it. And we believe that we're ready to onboard the first 10 realistically after New Year. So some of the takeaways is that when you hear that it's a product, or you treat your platform as a product, it sounds, first time I heard it is, yes, easy. But it's actually something to care about. And we have taken this approach with the discovery thing here. It requires strong product management. So perhaps if you're in the same situation and you're in a big company, make use of your UXers, your POs that's externally facing to do. I mean, the expertise might be already in place in the company. Then there's the team topologies. It actually matters what kind of team that you are, what kind of interaction modes that you have. We want to avoid ending up being a kind of a glorified infrastructure team for the same team that we were spun out of. And then lastly, just do something when we are struck with this analysis paralysis, that's the word. Resist from wanting to know everything up front. Instead, of course, consider the quality of the decision in how easy it is actually to change. And then the last thing is expect to fail, because you probably otherwise you probably will fail. Yeah, so that's it. Thanks. Thank you. Is there time for one question? Questions? Matt says there's time for a question.
Thank you for the presentation. I just have one question. So you mentioned the Argo CD and cross-plane to provision infrastructure. My question is, do you also use Argo CD to manage the life cycle of resources created with cross-plane?
It's something that's still work in progress. But I mean, right now it's the only thing we're using cross-plane for right now is creating IAM roles. So because we have like this assumption that most workloads need some kind of identity, because developers start to adopt cloud resources more. So most workloads that are running in our Kubernetes cluster, we'll also need an IAM role because we need to assume some kind of identity to allow the right permissions. So that's like the only thing we're doing right now. We plan to adopt it more, but again, it's still very early on.
But to elaborate a bit, I think as soon as possible that we can get from the bootstrapping thing onto treating everything as the same way that we do with all the other resources, I think we will choose to have everything in a repository for that.
I was curious, you touched a bit about this now, and it's a cultural question because we're on the culture track. You talked about like hiding complexity and a bit of worry about the like abstracting the wrong complexity and being magic, and you talked about ended up being a glorified infrastructure team. And I thought about this when you showed the quotes from your developers and you said, okay, well, we want them to not care as much about infrastructure. And actually a lot of the quotes were, oh, I don't have best guidelines on AWS or Terraform, which to me looks like a lot of interest in actually understanding those complexities. But of course, everyone can't understand everything. And I think as a developer myself, I wonder how you tackle that balance of sharing the learnings and not making it magic while making it efficient.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. I read a blog post from, I think it was Adobe, who had their team had ventured into platform engineering 7 years ago, something like that. And they had this thing that they called pure abstractions is a trap. And I think their point of view was that if everything is abstracted to a thin level here, then whatever happens down below, if perhaps someone at the team should dig a little deeper than the rest, right? And I think that also is something that, because of the expertise breadth internally in TV2, we need to figure out who is on these teams should know perhaps a little more than the rest in order for us not to be a bottleneck in these cases.
And also I can add that, I mean, most teams are interested in the different services that are available in AWS, but they're not necessarily interested in are the firewalls configured correctly, what kind of subnets are you running in, and some of the more low-level infrastructure. So it should be a more simple abstraction, having some kind of declarative configuration saying, yes, I need a database, and that's basically it. So but it's something we try to keep a close dialogue with developers and try to like continuously refine on this and adapt it along the way. So